እንኳን ደህና መጣሽ።
በጣም ደህና ነኝ። ሰላም ነው። If we can transport biogas, we can sell it. So we can make...
What do you mean by transport?
Transport means bring biogas from one household to another household. 1 billion people depend on wood and charcoal for cooking. The cooking fires in Africa have emissions that equal the entire emissions of Germany.
ሰላም እንደምንሰነበታችሁ እንደምንከረማችሁ actually እንደምንከረማችሁ ብል ይሻለኛል። ከራይዝ አዲስ ፖድካስት በተከታታይ ኤፒሶዶች ላይ አልነበርኩም። ለኮሊኮቼ ሰጥቼ እነሱ በጣም ጥሩ እንግዶችን ያቀርቡላችሁ እንደሆነ ያየው ነው። ኮሜንቶቻችሁን በተለያዩ ሶሻል ሚዲያዎች እየደረሰን ነው። ጥሩ እንግዶችን ይዞላችሁ እየመጣ ነው። ራይዝ አዲስ ፖድካስት ከነ ሶፋኒት ከነ ፊሊጶስ ከነ ዮርዳኖስ ጋር የሆነ ዛሬ ተመልሻለሁ። ዛሬ ይዤ የተመለስኩት እንግዳ ካትሪን ትባላለች። በኢነርጂ ፕሮዳክሽን በኢነርጂ ምርት ላይ ከእርዳታ ነፃ በሆነ መንገድ ኢነርጂን ማምረት ላይ በጣም ብዙ እንቅስቃሴዎች እያደረገች ነው። ሶ ኮንቨርሴሽናችን በእንግሊዘኛ ነው የሚሆነው። ግን እንደ መጀመሪያ ያክል ከኦልሬዲ ኤግዚስት ከሚያደርገው ኦዲየንሶች ጋር ለመገናኘት ያክል በአማርኛን ጀምረው ብለን ነው። ካትሪን ኢትዮጵያን በጣም ታውቃታለች። ከዚህ በፊት ለረጅም ጊዜ እየተመላለሰችም ቢሆን ለረጅም ጊዜ ኢትዮጵያን ታውቃታለች። ሶ የተወሰነ ኢንትሮዳክሽን ለፈንም እንዲሆን ከካትሪን ጋር የተወሰነ ኢንትሮዳክሽን እናደርጋለን። ሶ ሰላም ካትሪን፣ እንኳን ደህና መጣሽ።
በጣም ደህና ነኝ። ሰላም ነው።
እስቲ በአማርኛ ራስሽን ማስተዋወቅ ትችያለሽ? Just give it a try.
በጣም አስቸጋሪ ነው። በጣም አማርኛ በጣም ረሳው። አሁን ትንሽ አውቃለሁ።
ትንሽ? What can you say in Amharic? Anything you can say in Amharic before we go to the main stuff.
If we're at Mercato, I can really negotiate prices very well.
Okay.
When it comes to discussing detailed topics about energy transition and so on, I am lost.
We don't do that. We will not do that. But if you can negotiate price at Mercato, trust me, I cannot negotiate price
really?
At Mercato in Amharic. That's
I had fast. Ethiopian colleagues run away because they were embarrassed by my negotiations. No, I'm joking, but yeah, this is about the practical things that you need when you work in Ethiopia in the biogas sector, for example, out in the villages and building stuff. This is the kind of Amharic I speak.
Yes, I've been telling our audience how a good friend of Ethiopia you have been here so many times for the past so many years, and we're going to talk about that. You have been all over Africa so many times for the past so many years. But before that, let's just this is the way we start our episodes with on Rise Addis Podcast. So let's just introduce you, just a very good introduction about who Katherine is before we go to the more professional, the energy stuff, the business stuff, and all the reasons that why we brought you here. Before all that, let's just introduce you.
Okay. Can I use English?
Of course. Now you
Thank
can.
you very much. Okay. My name is Katherine Kinz. I am German, and I have been in the biogas sector, household biogas sector, for the last 15 years. With my company Bioenergy, promoting biogas technology to produce biogas from organic waste. That means from cow manure or any kitchen waste, agricultural processing waste. Turning this material into a flammable gas that you can use for cooking. So small, very simple household biogas systems. It's basically a plastic bag on the ground. It can be as simple as that, in combination with our biogas backpack that allows you to transport gas and then use the gas for cooking. This has been my business for 15 years now.
Yes, we are going to talk about that a lot. But before that, again,
okay,
just who are you as a person? Where were you born? And what did you like? How did you grow up? What was your education? Here we're trying to find out how you come in contact with this energy thing before when it all started.
Okay, that's clear. So my name is Katherine Kinz from Germany. I grew up in Germany, actually in the countryside. Yeah. My grandmother had a farm, a little dairy farm in the very rural area. And I think I spent a lot of time on this farm because I like nature and I like practical things. So I had a cousin who taught me many things, whether it's driving tractors or cutting wood with a chainsaw, and these kinds of things I really loved as a young adult or as a kid even. Yeah. So from there, with this experience, when I finished school, I went into cabinet making. I did a cabinet making apprenticeship for 3 years, which is a combination of theory and practice in Germany. And I learned how to build high-class furniture in Germany. And after this time, I thought, okay, how can I know whether I want to stay in this trade if I haven't seen the world and haven't tried other things? So I went to Australia back then. I just bought a one-way ticket and traveled to Australia and worked for a cabinet maker, but ended up actually being a bull catcher. That means I caught wild bulls in the Australian outback.
Oh.
Actually, quite dangerous animals.
I'm trying to imagine now.
Yeah. Imagine this. I didn't even know this job existed.
Yeah.
It just happened that because I was working as a cook on a cattle station, preparing meat 24/7 for the people who worked there, who only liked to eat meat. And one day a bull catcher came and said, do you want to come out for a day? And I tested it. And that's where the story with my grandmother comes into the picture, because I knew cattle. I grew up with cattle. I grew up with cows. So the bull catcher guy, he said, you understand cows.
You're good.
You wanna work for me?
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'm leaving this cooking job. I'm coming with you. Okay. This was a very interesting 1.5 years of in the Outback, living and working absolutely in the wild, in the Outback, in the wilderness. Yeah. It was fun. It was dangerous. It was tough, but I learned so much from this person. Yeah.
So how does bull catching work? What do you really have to do? Can you paint that picture?
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to imagine you trying to catch a bull now.
It's useless to imagine this in Ethiopia or Germany, because our cattle are owned by somebody and they're kept in a small area, right? And they're not wild. Yeah. But in Australia, it's completely different. They have huge areas where they keep their cattle, maybe 40,000 cows, you know, in the open. They are just running around all year. They're free range. And every now and then they go and muster them. That means they bring them together with helicopters and cars. They muster them together into a yard where they sort them out, where the bulls that are grown up, they sell them, the calves will be castrated and earmarked, and so on. So they will be sorted out and then left either to go again or put on a road train and sold. But with this mob of cows and domesticated bulls, there are always some wild bulls that are not earmarked. They call them clean skin because they don't have a branding and no earmark that shows who they belong to. And these guys are very wild. They have big horns, they're really strong, and they're normally not the breed that the station breeds. They are not a clean breed. So you want to get them out of your herd. And the only way to get them is to catch them individually. So you get a bull catcher who goes out there and searches these guys and then catches them with a bull buggy. It's a Toyota Land Cruiser. Oh. Okay. 1978 model. It's a very old Land Cruiser back then. And it's modified with a big bull bar in front of it so that you can, when you chase this bull, you can push it over. You know, you just push him and then he falls and you pike this bull bar over the top of the bull so he can't get up, and you strap the legs and then you can put him on the truck.
I was actually trying to imagine catching a bull like these Mexicans do with a run.
Forget it. He will drag you all over the plane. No, you can't do this with these guys. They're really very wild, and you have to get them tired a little bit before you can catch them. Yeah. So that's the way. Yeah, and then you get 10 to 20 bulls a day. It's quite a straining business, actually. It's dangerous. Your car is broken every day. You can fix something on the car every day. So that's where I also learned a lot of mechanics.
As dangerous as Australia is, somehow some people need more adventure.
I survived, obviously. But I had some
have.
serious accidents too. So
Yeah.
it could have turned the other way too.
Yeah.
I was attacked by a bull once, and I still have some scars actually.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. After
That's
that,
quite an experience.
I went back to Germany,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to university. I started studying. That was 5 years after I left school. So after 3 years cabinet making, 2 years Australia, I started ecological impact assessment as my bachelor. Then I came to Africa.
So we are going to talk about you in Africa a lot in just a little bit. But how did you make that decision from a cabinet maker, a woman who was very much involved in the making of furnitures, to now a woman who is going to study the environment or anything related to that, and being interested the way you are? How did that transition happen?
Sometimes you wonder, but in my case, even as a kid or young adult, I always cared about the environment. I was always a little bit mad when my mother took the car to her job, which was just like 500 meters away. She could have taken a bike.
Just walk?
You could walk. Yeah. But I was always like, why do you pollute the environment? It's not necessary, you know? From an early age, I was always interested in all the like nature books and shows and documentaries. Don't know, just had this interest. So environment and nature was my passion. Yeah. And I kind of experienced it in this job in Australia firsthand. But then during this time of like 5 years of practical work, I also felt this strong feeling of I want to do something for my brain again, like really something more intellectual. So that's why I then
So how about the cooking practices maybe that you have experienced at home? Can you paint a picture of how cooking actually happens at a German household in a rural Germany?
Yeah.
And how does it happen? What happens?
Yeah. It's something that you absolutely don't think about. I never thought about cooking in my life while I was in Germany. Because whether you're in the middle of the city or in the most remotest area, either you cook on gas or on electricity. Yeah, because there is electricity in every house, and there is normally a gas pipeline, natural gas into your house. And if you are super, super remote, then you might use LPG, but that's really very rare. Yeah. So cooking energy is also just a fraction of the energy that's being consumed in households. In Europe, on average, it's about 7% of the household's energy. In Africa, 80%.
80%, yeah.
So that's why cooking, it's just something, you don't think about it.
Yeah, that's what makes our next long conversation very ironic, coming from the background, a woman who has not seen probably during her childhood in her household cooking happening on using firewood or anything, and being interested, not only interested, actually taking up the challenge of fixing the problem in Africa. And we are going to talk about the problem later. Also supporting our views with numbers, very interesting numbers that you have been sharing me the other day. So it makes your story more interesting, coming from that background and doing what you are doing now, what you have been doing for the past many years, being interested the way you are. It's just very fascinating. So let's talk about let's just go to now the you and Africa. So you and Africa have this very special relationship. If Africa was a person, we would have called this a very great romance.
Yes, I think so.
Really? Yeah. So that's how I would define it if I were to define your relationship with Africa. So tell me your first exposure to the continent, and how did you come to love it the way you have, and why, actually?
See, during all these years, until I went to university, or actually till the end of my bachelor, I traveled a lot. I had been to all different continents except Antarctica before I ever came to Africa. And it was for my bachelor thesis that I went to Rwanda. yeah, for an agroforestry project that the university. That was my first touch.
Is Rwanda. Kigali.
Kigali,
okay.
Exactly. Kigali and Butare. Yeah.
Okay.
So I landed. I was picked up by the person who was working for the German university at that time, and he took me to Butare. And on the way, I looked into the forest, and I saw the forest was very clean. And I asked him, "Who cleans up this forest here?" He was laughing. He said, "People use every little stick they can for cooking." There was not a leaf on the ground. I couldn't believe it. I was, wow, this is amazing. Okay, so this is one little spark, right? Mm-hmm. But the actual big hit was when during this time that I was doing my research for the bachelor thesis about soil erosion and agroforestry and all that, I got to know the practices of development organizations in this agricultural field, in rural Rwanda. And I was extremely amazed, if not shocked, by the way locals were treated by foreigners. Yeah. And it was an agricultural project where the local farmers had to give their farms to a foreign organization, their farmland, to a foreign organization that then terraced the land and then paid farmers to go back to the land to grow something on these fields that were now pretty much unfertile because the topsoil was underneath and the clay was on top, and it would take ages to actually grow something on the soil again. And it was a very radical way for me, to see this, how this was being done and how foreigners took charge for a very local issue. And the more I got into these typical practices of aid organizations, the more I got shocked, and I actually quit my job because I was employed by the university then after my bachelor, and I stayed for I wanted to stay and work in this project, but then I thought, no. This was really, this is beyond my logic of, you want to call it development or anything, anything related to partnership or collaboration or anything. Really, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. And I went back, I quit my job, I went back to university. Yeah. And it had nothing to do with Africa in that moment because I just did agricultural engineering, but with these things in mind that I saw, which was also that these organizations taught farmers to, work on their fields with hoes and shovels. And I thought, okay, not sure. Let me find out more. Let me find out more. Let me study. Let me go back. And I did a master's in agricultural engineering where I learned something about biogas.
Yeah, we are going to talk about biogas. So, when your first impression about Africa came to the picture in Kigali, in Rwanda.
In Rwanda, yeah.
Yeah. So, how about the second one? When did you decide to come back? And I really have to go back. And is this going to take us to the biofuel story? If it does, because we are going to.
Absolutely.
We have okay.
Takes us to Ethiopia.
Oh, please.
So second time I not thought about it, but actually came to Africa was when when biogas caught my attention at university. I learned about high-tech biogas.
Is this in Germany?
In Germany.
Okay.
High-tech biogas, how it's implemented in Germany. But the basic idea behind biogas is bacteria breaking down organic matter producing a flammable gas. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. So in an area where it's naturally warm, where you have a lot of this organic material available, and where you can build any gas-tight container where this process can happen, this should work. So what is biogas in Africa? Wouldn't that be ideal for the continent where also cooking energy is in demand? So I started to research, and I found, it's a coincidence, the National Biogas Program of Rwanda. And I was surprised to read that the approach was to give people free biogas systems, highly subsidized by GIZ back then. Yeah, and no business model involved. Just give people these biogas systems
for free.
For free or highly subsidized. I don't know that they paid a little contribution to construction cost or something, but basically for free to help people or to push people to transition from firewood, stop deforestation, which is a very great reason, but the approach I doubted. So I got the results from this program because as a German, I was eligible to have a look at these results because it's German taxpayers' money. And what I found was what I expected, and it didn't work. People abandoned the systems. They were just not, it wasn't their choice, it wasn't their choice. So whatever costs nothing is worth nothing. That's Einstein. He already knew this. And this is something, it's just human nature. So GIZ pulled out of that program. And that was something that really triggered me. And I thought, okay, this must be possible. It must be possible to do this better. How about we make biogas tradable? What if biogas can be sold? So what do we need for that? Let's, can't this be done better, Why don't we have some sort of technology that allows us to transport biogas? And if we can transport biogas, we can sell it. So we can make...
What do you mean by transport?
Transport means bring biogas from one household to another household.
Okay.
Let's say you have 12 cows, you can produce a lot of gas. You can't even consume it all. Why don't you invest into a biogas system as a small business, because you have all this organic waste, with the intention to actually sell the gas to other households who might not have this amount of cows, or not the income or available funds to invest into a biogas system. So this was the idea. So I developed the biogas backpack. That was my idea, and I proposed it to my professor back then, and he said, if you want to do this, why don't you go to Ethiopia? Because we have a contact there, and there is a big open market. Why don't you then get the material for your biogas transport container from there? And I agreed. So I came to Ethiopia.
Yes. So I wanted to cut you off there because I want to talk about what was going wrong before we go to the solution aspect of it. You were telling me there were just probably tens of thousands of these systems installed using aid monies throughout Africa. And even in Ethiopia, we once talked about how there were probably more than 10,000 systems installed and all of them not working. So can we talk about the problem? Can we talk about this particular problem before we go to how we're going to use biofuel in a better way, using your model or any other model for that matter? So can we talk about the problem first? So this a little bit of history on how the systems were installed and why they just stopped working and all that. Just let's give a little bit of insight into the actual problem.
Yeah. So we're talking 2010 here. Yeah, this was in 2010, and the mindset is quite simple. We see people deforest the land and cook on firewood, and indoor air pollution has a great impact on people's health. So this is considered the problem. So what do we have as a solution? Either we give people cook stoves or we give them biogas systems to treat this problem. So giving people biogas systems is something that has been done quite on a large scale in Ethiopia. It's actually 46,000 biogas systems that have been built here in the last, since 2009. That's when the National Biogas Program started.
Close to 15 years,
It closed beginning of 2024 last year. So it's 15 years, basically. So this is highly subsidized biogas systems to make it affordable for people. Because a biogas system is not cheap. It's somewhere between $500 and $1,500. So to help people be able to afford it, it was highly subsidized.
Subsidized
by foreign aid
agencies
and local governments.
Okay.
And nowadays also carbon finance. This is the money that you get. And then people have individual biogas systems for their own use. This is this thing with whatever costs nothing is worth nothing. If you haven't chosen this, if you haven't fully understood the benefits, and if it doesn't really treat the root cause of your problem, which might not be cooking, then why should you care? So in Ethiopia, we have one additional component to the problem, which is injera baking. 60% of the household energy goes into injera baking. So now you would expect as a household, okay, if I get a biogas system, I will be able to bake injera on biogas. If that's not the case, your interest decreases significantly.
Yes.
And that is what happened. Also, if you don't have a very easily accessible customer service. See, a biogas system is like a cow. You have to feed it. Mm-hmm. It's really like an artificial cow in your backyard. If you don't feed it, it doesn't produce gas. And if there is any technical problem, like let's say a little bit of water in the pipeline, you have to know what to do to let this water come out. Otherwise, it blocks your gas and it doesn't get to your stove. Little things like this can happen, but you need either you know because you have received a good training as a household, or you know who to call. But this thing hasn't worked. So many biogas systems have stopped functioning. Not because they don't work anymore, but because they have minor technical problems and nobody to fix it. Yeah. So that is the sad situation that we face in many places. And but it's fixable. We can easily fix it. We just need to send technicians and give people a good reason to fix it. Mm-hmm. And that good reason, that is still to be discussed. Because is cooking energy really, is a better stove really solving a problem? Yeah. That's our next question.
Yes, that's all part of the next conversation. So what we're talking about here is there are tens of thousands of biogas systems installed using money from aid agencies and local governments installed in various parts of the country. And they were working fine at the beginning, but they failed because obviously anything technical faces technical challenge, and they failed to operate because there are no technicians and people who can actually fix this. And for that, the reason being there is no reason for technicians to actually fix them. There is no monetary reason, and there is not actually much of the skills necessary, maybe, or I don't know.
It's probably a mixture of all, but look, we can't say all of the systems have failed. Mm-hmm. That's not right, because many systems are nowadays used for carbon finance, for carbon credits actually, mm-hmm. For carbon offset. The government in Ethiopia uses these existing functioning biogas systems for carbon offset, and the income is used to provide the service, for example, to go and fix the biogas system. So it's the kind of second generation now of implementing biogas, where the carbon finance can help to bring back the failed systems, for example. So that's one way to bring them back. But I think there is even another option that could help to make people understand the value of biogas, if they could actually earn money with it. And I started this with the Biogas backpack, right? This was my initial idea. Let's give people a source of income from biogas, because income is always good motivation.
Sure. Let's talk about your backpack then. Mm-hmm. That was where I was heading. But please, yes, let's talk about the backpack.
So the backpack was the result of my master course. Thesis, and it was my master thesis. Because biogas and the situation of cooking in Africa, the aid situation, all that stuck in my head throughout my master course. Mm-hmm. And I then decided to build this transport container for biogas as my master thesis. And I came to Ethiopia, spent 10 days on Mercato. I didn't know a single person. Oh yes, I knew one single person. I knew one person.
It was not me.
It was a German who used to work for the same university where I studied. So I came here, spent 10 days on Mercato looking for the material that I could potentially use to develop a biogas backpack. I wanted to produce it from, or develop it from, material that's already available on the continent, not some high-tech geomembrane from Germany that could never be really found here. So I spent these days on Mercato, and in between I just by coincidence met somebody who also was in the biogas sector, and he connected me to his boss at the time, and that was the director of Horn of Africa Regional Environment Center at Addis Ababa University, Dr. Araya. And I remember I was in this very cheap hotel room back then, near Atlas, And my phone rang. I didn't know anybody. My phone rang, and it was him saying, I heard about what you're doing. Please come to my office. And I thought, oh, wow, how is this possible? I was very surprised and very happy. So I went to his office. He told me that this is a very interesting idea. And if I manage to develop a transport container for biogas, he will bring me back to Ethiopia. I was just a student, and I was very happy. And I thought, okay, this was even more motivation. Let's do this. So when I finished, I went back to Germany with my material. I've developed something exactly from the same material, like honey bags here. That's what I found. And sent him an email and said, look, this is my result. He booked me a ticket and he said, please come. We want to see this. Let's try this out. And this is how the whole story started. Really, Horn of Africa brought me here. Yeah. And I also had developed in that time a first prototype of a biogas method. Because while I was here, I also realized that if you can't bake injera, what's the use of biogas, right?
What's the use of energy?
Exactly. So I went back to Germany. I had, 6 months to develop the backpack, the method, and the business model for around the biogas backpack.
Yeah, that's good. So let's describe by the way you say method, not a lot of white people can say that sound. You're
Did I
saying
say it correct?
Yeah,
correctly?
you're almost local.
Yeah. Thank you.
So the backpack, can we describe it? This is a container that you can carry around, and then what does it do? How does it work? Can we briefly describe it?
Yeah, backpack sounds like a little backpack, right?
Yes.
But it's not.
It's not.
It's a huge balloon. It's 1 cubic meter. That means 1,000 liters of gas. It's not heavy. It's only 4 kilos, but it's huge. And it has backpack straps, and you put it on your back. It's just a big bag like this big. And it fills up with biogas automatically from any biogas system, just by the pressure that is created on the digester, the biogas system. The gas fills up this bag, and when it's full, you disconnect it and you can carry it. And then wherever you want to cook, you could connect it with a simple hose to your stove, and put a weight on this backpack. It can be a piece of wood, a stone, or a board, or something, leather, to push the gas out. And that little bit of weight is enough to create the pressure to actually cook on biogas. It's actually very simple. Now, some people say, oh God, isn't that dangerous? It's a flammable gas in this backpack, right? In a plastic bag. And we've done all the tests. And even if you put this full bag onto an open fire, big solid fire, all that happens is it melts the plastic, and then the gas comes out. But because it's not pressurized, it cannot mix with oxygen quickly enough to actually explode. Yeah, so it flares off. It just, wherever it has oxygen, it burns, but it doesn't explode.
So what was the plan? For example, assume I have that backpack. So what was the plan? So I have it at my house?
If you are the biogas producer, you have a number of backpacks that you fill up throughout the day. Maybe you use one for your own cooking purposes, and maybe you have 3 extra bags that you can sell to your neighbors. And
you
they
just
pick
go
it
around
up.
In the community?
Either you go around, or they know you, they come, they pick it up, they take it home, connect it to their stove, and without having to feed a biogas system, without having to have any organic waste, or even having a biogas system, they can use biogas. So from one system, we can serve more people instead of the typical development aid approach where it's always one biogas system per household. Yeah.
So this fits back into what we said about transporting biogas from one point to another.
Exactly.
This is like an infrastructure to do just that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's kind of substitutes or replaces the infrastructure that you normally have for gas distribution, right? Like pipelines and all this kind of stuff.
Very expensive.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the cheapest and lowest tech, or let's say no tech really, it's a plastic bag, to transport gas in a safe way. Yeah. And we did the first tests in Senegal, because that's where the arake is made. There's a lot of cow manure, and people actually pay for this cow manure to be taken away. So we said, okay, let's put biogas system there, produce the gas, and sell the biogas. And that, together with the Horn of Africa, it worked so well. Yeah. And I discovered something mind-blowing at the time for me. We asked the women who bought the biogas, why do you use biogas rather than charcoal or firewood now, even if it's more expensive? And they said, because it's more comfortable. It is so much more comfortable to cook on gas than firewood and charcoal. And that was a reason I had back then never considered. I thought it must be cheaper than firewood and charcoal for people to accept biogas as a fuel from a backpack, which was completely new. But this business went really well. This test project went so well that I said, okay, you know what? Thank you very much for this experience. Let's start a company and let's produce this material here in Ethiopia. And that's
which takes us to Bioenergy.
Exactly. So it all happened.
I wish I could give you a break, but unfortunately,
no, it's okay. We don't need a break.
We are going to keep talking about this. Bioenergy is something that that introduced you and me, I guess, or not. I'm not sure.
I can't remember, honestly.
I'm not sure. I think it's Bioenergy that brought us, you and me, together through Alena, because you have worked with them on that. Bioenergy Unite,
Biogas Unite.
Biogas Unite is the project that introduced you and me. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that before we go to yet another interesting, but which is going to be, I guess, a little bit of controversial topic.
Bioenergy, often called impossible business.
Yes, that's its nickname.
Yeah, that's its nickname, and I really like it because it's even more motivating to run an impossible business, right? Everybody can run a possible business. So why Bioenergy? I mean, we realized the technology has a market. People were interested in it, and I started my company. Unfortunately, not in Ethiopia, because as a foreigner, I had to invest a lot of money. I wasn't able to afford this. So I started Bioenergy in Germany, but physically started here with my first partners here. And we set up a manufacturing site. We produced everything locally, the biogas digester, the backpacks, the stoves, and we started to sell the product here. Yeah. Why was Bioenergy always called an impossible business? For 4 reasons. New technology in emerging markets as a startup without aid.
Yes.
So each one of them has maybe a 50% chance to succeed. Together, very low chance. So people say, forget it, it's impossible. Why without aid? Yeah, that's what people.
No, let's talk about the 3. The aid is going to take us into the next segment of our conversation, which is going to be more interesting. And of course, people have different opinions about this. So how about let's focus on the 3 first. The low, emerging markets, a new technology, and what was the other one?
As a startup.
Of course, this is new.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more, and we'll just go to the aid part.
Yeah, I mean, starting a company is always a risk.
Of course.
Startup, a new technology, which was really kind of, who wants to carry a big balloon on their back to transport gas? That was a big question that people said or ask. Isn't that dangerous? And who wants to run around like this? And all these kind of questions. And new cooking practice. So yeah, there is a bit of promotion and action needed to find a market, get people convinced. And then, of course, a new country. Okay, I had collected some years of experience now in Ethiopia, but still, I mean, setting up a company in a country that's not yours is double or even 10 times more difficult than in your own country. Yeah. Especially when a biogas company was not something you could even register because it was not a category in the country yet at the time. So because there was only this national program, so there were no companies in the biogas sector. So all these little struggles we had to go through. But yeah, this is only the struggle I think everybody goes through. But the extra challenge that I accepted for myself and said for myself, that's the one without aid. Yeah.
Yes, that is what probably interests me the most, because I know, and I also talked about this on my show at different times because of various reasons, of course. Is one thing that concerns, I talk about this a lot because, we are witnessing startups, innovators becoming aid, these aid organizations themselves. I don't know if that's the right way to call them. Those organizations that receive aid from foreign organizations to survive or to achieve their objectives. So we call them CSOs, civil society organizations. So we were supposed to, the startups were supposed to be more connected to the private sector, profit making, problem solving, kind of entities that will eventually turn out to become huge corporations, not only operating in one territory, but expanding throughout other territories and all that. But we're just seeing young people going from one support to another, from one support to another, winning this grant and then going to another grant, and then so the framework that I use to talk about this particular topic is this particular issue I have with people only focusing on grants but not actually turning their startups into a real business in a real world, facing real market challenges. But you generally are against aid. Let's talk about that a little bit.
I mean, it has to do with my company, right? Yeah. Because from the very beginning, I said, okay, I am a foreigner. I have developed something that I believe, from my perspective, could be useful in Africa. But I will not be the one who pushes this and enforces it on people in Africa. But if there's no pull, if there's no demand, it'll be just a piece of paper in the shelf, That is the end of the backpack. But it was Dr. Araya who back then said, well, this is great for us. Let's do this. We'll bring you here. And that's the only reason why I continued. Otherwise, I would have forgotten about it. Yeah, I was not going to be that next European who brings a solution to Africa that nobody wants, who takes responsibility of a problem that's not my responsibility to take care of. So I see many problems with this aid approach, and one has to do with responsibility. I mean, certain things are just somebody's responsibility in a society, yeah? And I would say infrastructure, energy, water, like the very basics, that's usually the responsibility of the government. If the government needs support with this, fine. I think that can be done. There are ways to support governments. But if individual organizations come in and take responsibility for parts of the problem, yeah, without having a really clear strategy to work together with the entire ecosystem. I mean, how could this ever succeed? This project implementation, one after the other, always for a limited amount of time with a limited amount of money, and after that project is ended, you go to the next one. How can this contribute to really developing the infrastructure that's lacking on scale, yeah, or at scale? So, I mean, this is one thing. Withdrawing responsibility, yeah, it's foreigners who take responsibility for things they are not responsible for. But it's comfortable for everyone involved, because then there is the next topic, accountability. Who's responsible then for it failing? What if it doesn't work? Who's responsible for failed aid projects?
For those,
it's a question yet to be answered.
It's
not a topic.
Yeah.
Nobody's responsible because it's a gift. How can you make somebody responsible for something that's been gifted to somebody? If a biogas system that's been paid for by a foreign donor doesn't work for the local person on the ground, how is this person going to demand accountability for the damage that has been, or the harm that's been created? You receive a biogas system that doesn't work, it blocks your garden, it has destroyed your hope for a cleaner way of cooking.
Yes.
Yeah. It has maybe taken all your cow manure and you would have used it otherwise. And so on and so forth. I mean, I'm using the example of biogas. We can use any other example. Yeah. So it's the responsibility issue. It's the accountability issue. It's the market distortion. That's the one where I came from. If I start a business in Africa, I want to make sure I'm not an unfair competitor. For me as a business, as a foreign company, this is the main thing. Because I have all the possibilities to get money from everywhere to fund my business, for it to succeed, like it succeeds. Because I give away many biogas systems that have been highly subsidized or carbon funded or whatsoever. It is possible and it's easy. But what about all my local competitors who do not have access to this funding? I push them out of the market. I, as a foreigner, do this in Africa and I pretend to help, or I pretend to bring the solution. I think I create more harm than good. If I destroy the local private sector, outcompete the local private sector, then I should not be here. Yeah. So for me, it was very clear from the start, I will not accept this money, because if I cannot succeed as a pure and honest and fair entrepreneur, then either my product is not good enough or the market is not ready. Yeah. And then there is no way that we can improve this through aid. It's just not possible. It's artificial. Yeah. We're not solving a problem there. So this is why I chose this very challenging path of working without aid.
It is very challenging. Katherine is a German woman who usually comes to Ethiopia, or for that matter, any part of the world, Africa, and with absolutely no connection with organizations like GIZ. Not even visiting their office once, not even for a casual conversation on, what are you doing? How is it going?
It's true.
So that's how I know her. That's what makes her story interesting. And I'm sure, trust me, a lot of startups would think it would be a blessing to get a coffee conversation with a GIZ official. And I know, because I could be one of them, but also I know a lot of startups that would wish that could happen in their journey as startups. So now we're going to connect this aid issue, because this is something that you talked about during our recent Africa Startup Ecosystem Builders Summit, where, by the way, Rise Addis was a very lead partner in bringing the event to Addis Ababa. So we invited you over a video message, and you shared this view, which was very interesting, controversial, and also kind of inspired a continuing conversation even before your video ended at the summit. So my question now is, how do you see the role of aid in startups, in starting a business? So this is something that you touched upon a little bit during that video message, but I just wanted to use this as the kind of main message for this episode.
Let me go back to GIZ. I do have some very good friends in GIZ,
yes.
especially Ethiopians. Yeah. So I do go there sometimes for coffee or meet them outside. Yeah. I have no problem with GIZ,
with that conversation.
But exactly. Yeah. It's not for the money. Yeah. So the startup scene is, basically you explained it already. The problem is with funding startups, and I have to give credit for the aid organizations that they do venture into startup support, because at least this is different than, providing free material or services. Yeah, supporting businesses. This is the right direction. Now, do we do this with a business mindset or an aid mindset? That's the question. And what I often see is it's kind of an aid mindset, because if you give startups money, first of all, who's the one to decide which startup gets the money? And in those cases of aid organizations, it's usually foreigners who decide over what products, what services are the right ones for this country that they're working in. But do they really know? Are they the ones? And from which perspective are they choosing those startups? Yeah. Now, they give them money without skin in the game. They don't really care if they succeed. They don't lose, they don't win. They just give them a grant. As a startup, you really need people who believe in you, who criticize you, who guide you, and who want you to be successful and who push you, you know? So that doesn't happen with this kind of money. Now, you have the thing that, or the result is that you have usually the best fundraisers who win the grants, not the ones who have the best product, maybe, because there might be super skilled technicians not very good at communications. Yes. So you don't get the grant.
And but that happens usually.
Exactly. That's what happens. If you're not good at writing proposals, you're out.
Nice.
But then you get the good fundraisers do the business while the other ones die. So that's one thing. The selection is a problem. Again, does it distort, and I don't know, but does it distort the normal way how startups are being raised and supported through the private sector if somebody else takes the responsibility? Normally, it's the companies or the investors, the private investors around, who look for startups that they think are, you know, worth investing in because they solve a serious problem and they have a real solution for it. Now, is that replaced by this aid-funded support? I don't know. There's a risk that it is. Yeah. So I believe it would be much better than giving people this short-term, unconditional money, these grants. It would be much more helpful for startups to be connected to real investors, people who have an interest in them succeeding, yeah, and who could be there for the long term. Yeah. And where they learn a business mindset.
Yes.
That's the thing. From an aid organization, it's unlikely that you learn the tough business mindset that you have to have. Yeah. And these are some of the doubts that I have with aid-funded startup.
Yeah. And talking about starting a business in Ethiopia, in Africa in general, aid might give you that protection, that unnecessary protection. Mm-hmm. I don't think startups should be protected from certain challenges. If you are going to operate in Africa, I believe you must be exposed to those challenges. However, some are red tapes, some are corruption, some others are, I understand they are all challenges, and they are very bad challenges, and I totally understand that. But I don't think you must be, you have to be protected from all those challenges. Otherwise, the moment you go out and you are going to be broken. People need to build themselves slowly through those challenges. It is costly. It is costing me money, time, trust me. Okay, but they really have to be exposed to those. So the next segment, which is the segment from probably the last segment, where I'm expecting you to share with us a couple of stories you may have while working in Africa, is the segment where we talk about CCash. Did I say that right?
Yeah. You said that right.
This is new, so I'm learning.
Yeah, this is absolutely new.
So this is new. This is in the same sector, talking about the same problem, more or less the same problem, but a little bit of a different solution. So let's talk about CCash. But before that, there were these interesting numbers and some facts that you dropped on me when we talked about this the other day. So we can start with that, and then you can tell us about CCash.
Perfect. Yeah. So we're talking about the clean cooking sector. Clean cooking means cooking on anything that's not firewood, charcoal, or any crop residues, anything that smokes, basically. Yeah. So that's traditional cooking. Clean cooking is anything that doesn't smoke. Now, when we look at the clean cooking or the cooking energy sector, really, we can say that 85% of the people across sub-Saharan Africa cook traditionally. That
meaning
firewood, charcoal.
Firewood, yes. 85%.
Yeah. 85%.
Yeah.
That is 1 billion people.
Yes.
Yeah, 1 billion people depend on firewood and charcoal for cooking. This has certain consequences. One is deforestation. That is one of Africa's main contributions to carbon dioxide emissions. Yeah, so it's not industry. The cooking fires in Africa have emissions that equal the entire emissions of Germany, my country, which is a major industrialized nation.
Yes.
Yeah, just the cooking fires. And the other impact is on women's health, women and children who typically cook. And if it's in closed rooms, they are exposed to the smoke from these fires. And it's a major cause of death in Africa, more than HIV, malaria, tuberculosis altogether. It is the consequence of indoor air pollution. And that is around 700,000 women and children per year, yeah, that we lose due to these ways of cooking. So now the globally accepted solution to this problem, yeah, is dissemination of cook stoves. That means the world assumes that if people have a better stove, they will cook differently. If they have access to an electric stove, an LPG stove, an improved cook stove, they will not use firewood for cooking. And this is what's been happening for all these years and still ongoing, is disseminate cook stoves and give them to people for free or heavily subsidized. And the result or the learning is that this hasn't really solved the problem. Hasn't really helped. We have 40% more people cooking on firewood and charcoal than 2010, 15 years ago. 40% more death.
That is what...
one reason is, yes, population growth, but the second reason is it's just not working. Cook stove dissemination is not the ultimate solution. It's too slow. Because often people don't use the stoves that they've been given. Why can't they use them? Why don't they use them? Because it doesn't solve their problem. Their problem is not cooking on firewood and charcoal. Their reason for cooking on firewood and charcoal is poverty. It's lack of income. Firewood and charcoal is just the cheapest. So you don't start cooking on an LPG stove only because you have a stove now. You cannot afford the LPG. So what do? Continue giving people cook stoves? It's a nice way to keep ourselves busy, write some reports, but we're not solving the problem because we're looking at the wrong problem. It's not the cooking is the problem. The poverty is the problem. So let's address the poverty problem. And this is what CCash does. CCash means clean cooking cash. And the area in Germany where I come from, which is Cologne, we have a special dialect. It's the Cologne dialect. And we would say, CCash is cash in the dash. A dash means pocket. It's cash in your pocket, you know? CCash goes straight to your pocket and it's a payment for everybody who transitions from firewood and charcoal to a clean source of energy. So you cook on firewood, you can register on our app or through your normal mobile phone on our platform. You register your location, your name, and your stove that you will be using from now on. Yeah? And this stove is equipped with a sensor that allows us to find out how much you're cooking. And besides, we're also tracking the impact it has on your life.
Yes.
The social impact.
Yeah.
And we're giving that a price. Because we say, you know what? You're not a stove recipient. You're actually a very important actor for the energy transition and for the climate.
Yes.
You are kind of a contractor for the climate or humanity, if you want to say it really big. Because what you do when you transition is more than just sit in a clean kitchen. You impact the life and health of women and children. You stop deforestation. You protect biodiversity. You, in the case of biogas, manage waste, maybe sanitation even, because your toilet is connected to the biogas system. That means you produce also very great organic fertilizer. That means you replace imported fertilizer. That means you reduce the reliance on Forex, and so on and so forth. You know, it's a big, long chain. And we give each one of these consequences of cooking a price. We just give a price tag. What's the life of a woman worth? What's the health of a child worth? What's a forest that's not being cut down worth? And we come to a value that we pay to people. Instead of subsidizing technology, we give the money to the people. That addresses poverty. People can choose whichever stove they want. People choose whichever fuel they want to pay for. It's not subsidized. It doesn't need to be subsidized. Yes. Let the market now get them to compete. Not the best fundraisers win, the best technology providers, the best service providers. And we just help people to have the purchasing power. Yeah, that's all we do. And with that, we not only solve the cooking energy problem, but the root cause of the problem, which is poverty. Yeah. That means we create an economic boost that has never been seen before, because the money goes to the people in the rural countrysides. Mostly, people in the city are already cooking on electricity or charcoal or LPG in many cases. But it's the people in the rural countryside who depend on firewood and charcoal. So once there is money in these areas, I am 100% sure the market will follow. There might not be LPG available now. Of course not, because who do you sell it to if people can't afford it? Once people can afford it, the market will go there. They will offer LPG, they will offer electric stoves, and so on. So that's what CCash does. Yes. And of course, it also creates carbon credits. Yeah? Yes. But not those types of carbon credits that are just cheap for somebody else to continue polluting. And the household who actually does the action gets nothing. But those types of carbon credits that are real, because we're tracking, we're measuring them, and we're paying the households for it.
And there was this number, which was very interesting to me, that you told me the other day, using this model, and because you have put a price on each and every aspect of this, including women's health, including your contribution to the environment, including deforestation, everything. So how much could a household get if it was to transition to clean cooking using this CCash? Let's assume this is going to go operational tomorrow, and then everything is going to go great. And how much would I make if I were to transition to clean cooking?
Yeah, it's something that we need to verify, actually.
Of course.
It's not 100% set yet, but it has to be, and it might be different in different countries. Yeah, but it's going to be something that's substantial. That's what I can say as of now. Yeah, it's going to be substantial because if it's $2 per month, it will make a big difference. Yeah. So if you only pay people for the carbon credits, that's about what they can earn. Yeah. But if you pay them for the broader environmental impact and the social impact. I mean, the health of a child, I can give that example, is priced in with $20 per year, because it's an investment into the future.
Of course.
This child can then go to school if it's not ill. And if you go to school, you have a better job. And if you have a better job, you have a better income, and so on and so forth. So all these aspects are involved, up to things like job creation and prevented migration. Yes. And that gives us the chance to have a blended financing model where not African governments have to take responsibility, but where we bring external partners on board that have never seen clean cooking as an investment opportunity. The aim here is really to make clean cooking bankable. Yeah, see it not as a charity but as a business, also by the very big companies on the continent, because they have an interest in the impact that we generate. Yeah, so it's a trade, not a charity. Yeah. This is what I can say as of now, and the exact numbers are yet to be determined.
Yet to be verified. But I can say if this goes fully operational within the kind of model that we used to calculate this, a household or a single individual can actually make as good as a decent job in a very urban setting. Yeah. Which is a very great thing to get just for cooking clean, Isn't it? I was telling you the other day, the number we're looking at is the kind of number that I usually get whenever I get my designs done, or whenever I want to get my video edits done. This is a professional job that requires a technical skill in a very urban setting. So I can imagine now I'm living in this rural area, and somebody is paying me an equal payment for cooking my food in a different way. Okay, it's not even for doing something brand new. It's just doing the same thing in a different way. So this, I am sure, going to be interesting.
Yeah, I just want to ask this question. Shouldn't it be worth it in these times in our times where the climate is probably the most valuable thing we currently have and have to protect?
Yes.
If we don't do anything like very substantial very shortly, we will all feel the heat.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes, we're melting.
Shouldn't protecting the climate be a job that is paid for and decently paid for?
Of course.
And this is what we're doing here.
Yes.
And I am 100% sure, because there's so much money out there to protect the climate,
yes.
but sometimes very inefficiently. Here we're opening up a pipeline for huge funds to be implemented for a trackable, transparent climate action that benefits the very people who do it. Yeah.
Yes, this is going to be interesting, and I have no doubt about that. So we're going to go to the last segment where you'll be sharing with us those interesting stories you may have from any part of Africa. That includes Ethiopia, but that does not necessarily have to be in Ethiopia. If you have any interesting story, please do share.
Pooh, this will be many now.
I'm sure.
What do I have from my top of my head?
I am sure there are many.
Ariso, you challenge me. Let me think. What could it be? Do you have anything in mind? Maybe you can help me a little bit to find the right story to share now at the end of this conversation.
I don't know. But you once told me how you got
have one.
Yeah, sure.
Actually,
yes,
I have one.
Let's do that.
There is a person in the energy sector who's very prominent. I didn't know him at the time he approached me. It was one of his assistants in Germany who sent me an email saying, are you looking for investors? We have contacts to investors and would like to connect you. And back then, that was in 2018, still very, very much focused on Bioenergy and the sale of biogas across the continent, biogas technology, without aid. And I responded and said, no, thank you. I only work with African investors. Because my experience with European investors was always the few I had investing or interested in investing was, okay, we invest, but forget about your ideology about aid. We sell to everybody when we invest. Sorry, guys, you can't buy me. So that always failed with the conventional investors. Yeah. Now came this one, and I said, no, thank you. I only work with African investors. And she said, yeah, it's an African investor. I said, oh, wow, in Germany? Okay, great. They said, please, let's meet in Berlin. We'll pay your ticket. Come to Berlin. We introduce you to an investor. I didn't research who he was. Met him, presented to him. And then he sat there. And he said to me, Katherine, this is not a business. And I thought, oh my gosh, again, this is a movement. So, what?
Is.
Thank you very much. You're the first person who sees this. He said, this is amazing. Count me in. From that day, he has been not a financial investor as such. That's not the huge thing I got out of this. It's the connection. It's the support from a person that's highly influential in the African energy sector, who believes in what I do. This has given me so much energy. And that's what I say when you need an investor, and it doesn't have to be money in this case, who wants you to succeed because he understands what you do and connects you with the right people or pushes you onto the stage on big conferences or whatever, And this, I would say, has made me to stick to it, to push, to continue, to develop what we have now, and to also believe in myself, If nobody believes in you and everybody tells you, come on, forget it. I mean, we invest what you have is great, but if you don't work with aid, forget it, we're not investing. Then sometimes you really wonder, what are you doing,
Yes.
But this person, and I can say it's NJ Ayuk. He has really given me a lot of
hope.
Hope and energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not the money.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that much I can agree. This definitely is not a business, and if it were, it is not a simple one. But I definitely agree that this actually is a movement, and it must be a movement. It's not, even if it is not, it must be a movement.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way we can achieve this. And this is not just a goal we set as a single business. This is going to involve the communities. This is going to involve governments. This is going to involve so many stakeholders. So that's why I really do agree. This is definitely a movement. So last word before we end this. We're almost at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One last word. I want to make it very clear. Bioenergy was my business without aid. Yeah. I think I've proven that an impossible business is actually possible. Mm-hmm. You don't become rich. It's extremely tough. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I have found so many African distributors who believe, just like me, that it has to be possible, and who've done and have pushed, and I'm super proud of them. But now we're transitioning, and Biogas, Bioenergy will continue, but now we're transitioning to CCash. It's a different thing. It's not this impossible business anymore. It's, as you say, it's more of a movement. It's a mindset change in the clean cooking energy sector, and it is something where I want to collaborate with everybody. Yeah, it is the GIZs, the SNVs, the USAIDs, it's the governments, it's the corporates, yes. It's the private sector who all have a role to play in this, because I just want to make sure that whatever money is available is put to good use, because why are we wasting time? Yeah, let's now work together and stop egos and yes. You know, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. Let's do something sensible, and that's what I'm trying to do with CCash. And this is open for everybody to come on board. Yeah, yes. And we are in this phase now where we're introducing this in many different African countries, receiving extremely great feedback. Yeah, and excitement. And I hope Ethiopia can be one of the countries where we start with this. Yeah. Yes,
I hope that will be the case too. Just like the other guy said, and count me in too.
Thank you.
And I'm sure, I am sure the rest of Ethiopia will follow suit. This is going to be new. It's not going to be easy, but I'm definitely sure you're going to get a lot of collaborations and support here in Ethiopia. With that, thank you so much. This has been a very long time coming. We have been planning this probably a million times.
That's true.
Here we are.
Now we're very spontaneous. We do it. Thank you so much, Adisu.
Thank you, Katherine, so much.
There you go.
Thank you.